Hi everyone, this is Migs from Sneaks and Ball PH, and today we have a detailed review on the Nike Cosmic Unity Space Hippie. To start things off, the Nike Cosmic Unity is supposedly the first Nike basketball to use recycled materials. And this whole recycled materials theme has been something that Nike has been working on over the past year. Because you've had the Space Hippie 1, 2, 3, and 4 which all used recycled materials. You had the Jordan 1 Zoom Crater and the Jordan 1 Comfort which also used a little bit of recycled materials. And this whole move towards sustainability is something that Nike didn't necessarily start. Because of course you had those Adidas Parlay shoes. It is however just so typical of Nike to take a theme that someone else kinda started and be the one to actually make it a trend. Then for this Cosmic Unity shoe in particular, it is in fact being used by Anthony Davis, who we haven't seen in a while because of his injury. But it is really interesting that Nike decided to use Anthony Davis as sort of the signature athlete for the Cosmic Unity. This is pretty common throughout the history of Nike, but if these shoes do end up being iconic and to be linked with Anthony Davis as well, it'll join the likes of Penny Hardaway and the Foamposite, as well as Scottie Pippen and the Air More Uptempo. Then before we get into the tech specs, just to show you the box, it does have that Jordan 1 Crater style box. And I think this is also the same box you find on the Space Hippies. It does have quite a lot of text on it, so it says Move to Zero is Nike's journey towards zero carbon and zero waste to help protect the future of sport. Then it says here on the front, this product is made with at least 20% recycled content by weight, which reduces waste and our carbon footprint. So that would be the text that you can find on the box, and it also doesn't come with any paper inside, and this is just to reduce the amount of packaging used on the box. So I guess in a way Nike did practice what it preached. Then now for the tech specs on the Nike Cosmic Unity. Here on the outsole you have a very aggressive herringbone traction pattern all throughout. This definitely does look like a traction pattern that will work well because you have nice and aggressive herringbone that's a little bit widely spaced, and you also have solid rubber. I did try this out a little bit at home and it was sticking really well, but of course I will update you in the performance review. You do have deep grooves of rubber on the outsole, however those grooves are a little bit on the soft side. So in terms of the durability of the traction, especially on outdoor courts, I think these would be just average. Average meaning that you could get away with playing in these outdoors for a while, however it won't last you as long as something with XDR or like an early 2000s or 90s retro. Then for the cushion, you do have a full-length Phylon midsole, and it seems like this is one of the portions where there are recycled materials, since you have these tiny multicolor speckles on the midsole. The Phylon on the Cosmic Unity is also pretty average. It's not too soft nor is it too stiff. However, the main impact protection and responsiveness of the shoe comes from that full-length Zoom Strobel unit. I have been a really big fan of the Zoom Strobel ever since they introduced it in the KD12. So my early impressions on the cushion is that it's super responsive and it absorbs a lot of impact, and you also feel surprisingly low to the ground because I know it does seem like there's a lot of Phylon on the midsole. However, most of the foam does come up for support purposes and also aesthetic purposes, as you can see here on the heel, so you do really sit a lot lower to the ground than it seems on the outside. Then for the materials, here at the bottom of the shoe you have this clear plastic, and this acts as both the torsional support of the shoe and a sort of window where you can see the foam as well as the zoom unit. Then moving on to the upper, it is primarily made of textile, and based on what we know, there were a lot of recycled materials on the upper as well, which actually gave me some concern whether it would be stiff and plasticky. However, it actually feels surprisingly soft. Then for the other materials, you do have a nice and thick neoprene tongue, and it's nice that they also added a lot of perforation holes on the tongue as well. You have a neoprene sock liner, and here on the ankle collar it is pretty interesting because I think it is neoprene. However, it seems like they heat pressed it, which made it a little stiffer than the usual, but it is still pretty soft. It just has that really weird texture to it and this sort of ribbed look as well. You also have some nylon here at the pull tab at the back as well as here on the tongue, and you have nylon as well wrapping around the whole eye stay area. Then lastly, you do have a little bit of rubber on the upper. You have it here on the Cosmic Unity logo on the tongue, and you have some rubbery plastic on the Nike swoosh on the lateral side. Then for fit and sizing, I did go true to size with the Nike Cosmic Unity, and it fit me perfectly well. You are pretty locked in at the back and it has adequate padding as well. The midfoot is not too loose nor is it too tight, and the forefoot is pretty perfect. It has a little bit of space on the end and not a lot of space on top. So my recommendation for the sizing is that if you have a narrow foot or a normal width foot, you can definitely go true to size. Then if you have a wide foot, I do have a feeling that all of this Phylon that comes up might dig into your foot, so if you have a wide foot, I would recommend going up half a size, just to avoid any discomfort. Then for the aesthetic details, you do have this solid rubber outsole that's in light blue, and you have that clear plastic window that allows you to see the zoom unit underneath. This type of setup with that herringbone traction as well as that window to make you see the zoom is something that's actually pretty reminiscent of the Nike Hyper Rev, which was definitely an awesome shoe to play in, and based on the tooling, it's actually pretty similar, so I do hope that these perform just as well as those did. But going back to this shoe, on that clear plastic window, you have a Nike swoosh, you have the Air Zoom Strobel branding, and you have that little Atom logo that I'm not sure if Nike owns, but it does look pretty cool and sciencey. You have that new Nike logo, which I'm not really sure if I like because it's just quite wacky. Then lastly, you do have 2021 written on the outsole as well. Then for the midsole, that Phylon is this super light grayish blue with some multicolor speckles from the recycled materials. This is a very interesting midsole design because you actually have like 3 blobs on the outsole, and you have cutouts here on the forefoot and heel part of the lateral side and the heel part of the medial side. Then that Phylon foam does come up quite a bit here at the heel, and it actually acts as an external heel counter. This is very interesting because it has a hole at the back and it really just looks like how a fighter jet looks. So you know, I am tempted to edit this kind of like going through the sky with fire spitting out of the back, but I guess that is the look that they were going for because of that whole very futuristic sort of astronaut vibe. Then lastly, for the midsole, you do have a little bit more branding because you have Cosmic U written here on the medial side, and here at the tip of the toe you have 001. Then on the upper, it is primarily gray, giving you that whole space hippie, or what many people would call the Air Mag vibe. For a little bit more color on the body of the shoe, you have this underlaying stitching that is orange, and if you look really closely, there are like multicolor patches underneath all of the textile, and these might be some more bits of recycled material. You have that white nylon rand that goes all over the eye stays, and a white nylon tab here on the back as well, and a very light blue pull tab here on the tongue. You also have these cool looking laces which are gray, but they did mix in some threads of green, yellow, blue, and red. Then on the tongue you have that Cosmic Unity branding, and that logo is just quite wild because it's pretty big, and it's kind of stamped onto something that looks like a planet or a moon, which definitely accentuates that whole futuristic vibe. For your other bits of branding, you do have an orange Nike swoosh here at the base of the lacing, another one here on the medial side of that nylon strip, then on the lateral side you have 001. Then last but not the least, you have this very large Nike swoosh, and it is a pretty dark gray, but it actually has a little bit of orange and a little bit of blue that kind of makes it look like it was from another planet as well. Then for the overall aesthetics, I think that they really went all out with this theme, and it does look super futuristic in my opinion. This is definitely something that I could see an astronaut wearing on the moon when he's playing basketball, but it's overall just such an intriguing shoe, and I personally do like this colorway, as well as that other amalgam colorway, or how I like to call it, the Captain Planet colorway, because of those shades of green and blue. The only colorway so far that I really didn't enjoy was the launch colorway, which had that black upper and that weird kind of green on the midsole, so even if I could have gotten those and reviewed them at first, I just skipped them altogether and waited for this fire colorway. I do really love the overall aesthetics of the shoe, and with the right colorway I think it looks really cool, but in the wrong colorway I think the shoe looks really bad as well, so it's definitely one of the shoes where the colorway will make or break whether it looks really good. Oh, and if you were curious and you wanted to ask, like, does this actually make the shoe feel a little heavy? Since you know this is more of a support feature and an aesthetic feature that it comes out quite a bit more than normal, and the answer is that it does make it a little bit heavy at the back, but it wasn't bad enough for me to notice it all the time, and I don't think it will affect the performance at all. And then for the price, the Nike Cosmic Unity retails for 7,795 pesos here in the Philippines, or $150 US. It definitely isn't the cheapest option, however it's very far from being the most expensive option as well, and it's actually pretty much at the same price as the Nike KD13. It also is quite similar to the KD13 because you have a textile upper, a full-length zoom strobel unit, and good traction. Or at least I hope the traction on these are good, but they do seem like they will perform really well, so I'm just gonna assume that right away. But I am just gonna go out on a limb and say that I might prefer these over the KD13s, just because these feel lower to the ground and a little more supportive, and the materials feel a little bit more comfortable. So if you want to grab a pair of these, you can get them over at the Nike website or any of your local Nike stores. Or if you're here in the Philippines, designs, you can always get them from the Titan app, the Titan website, any of the Titan stores, or Titan On Demand on Viber. So there you have it, guys. That was my detailed review on the Nike Cosmic Unity Space Hippie. If you liked the video, please make sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Then if you have any comments, questions, or any suggestions for future videos, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below as well. Then I will be leaving a link in the description box as well for the SNBPH Sneaker Hunters Facebook group. So please do join. We talk about sneakers, we talk about basketball, and that's also where I announce my monthly giveaways. Then if you haven't already yet, please make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon for notifications. It would help us out a lot here at Sneaks and Ball PH.